Eagles pregame show. Bo Wulf, Jamie Lynch, joined in a little bit by Zach Berman live from Lincoln Financial Field. A big night. The return of the Kelly Green, Jamie. A prime-time matchup between two of the best teams in the league, two of the best offenses in the league. We'll talk about how we think the Eagles might be able to stop the Dolphins on defense, if that's even possible, how they can maybe control the game on offense. But let's start with the Kelly Green because it is much anticipated and a long time coming, and I know it is close to your heart.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I was kind of kicking myself pregame for not even bringing in my Kelly Green jersey, so bad job by me. I can only hope to be better in the future.
There's that Bednarik one in the other studio.
That's true. Yeah, I don't know if the long sleeves fits me or not. But yeah, I was telling you prior to the show, like, I always was looking forward to this game, but then seeing the lettering in the end zone, seeing the way cooler Eagle at midfield, and then seeing the guys come out of the tunnel. I think the silver pants with the white and green stripes, that's when I fell in love with football, was Reggie White and Jerome and Clyde and Eric Allen and Randall. And I became football obsessed because of Randall Cunningham. He was like my favorite player in the world.
Was he your favorite?
Yeah. And the Kelly Green with the silver pants and the black high tops was so badass. I've missed it dearly. And to see it in the stadium tonight, you know, if you go down to the lots right now, it's Kelly Green, everything, everywhere. And that stadium looks awesome. The helmets look awesome. I just think it's a far superior branding for the Eagles, you know, but I know.
I'm definitely with, like, the logo and the lettering, far superior.
Yeah.
The field looks great. It'll be nice to be able to tell the difference between a 6 and an 8 on the jerseys tonight. It's funny. I mean, in terms of how long this is coming, you know, they had the throwbacks in, I think it was 2010.
Yeah.
For the one game when Kevin Cobb goes down, suffers a concussion. I started working for the Eagles in 2009 as an intern, right? For the email or for the website. And one of my jobs was like going through the fan emails. And I got to tell you, like, 25% of the fan emails were like, bring back the Kelly Green, bring back the Kelly Green. And so it's very much a long time coming, and I know that Zach has talked about, like, every year at the owners' meetings. Jeffrey Lurie gets asked about it.
Sure.
They had to wait for the helmet stuff. They had to wait for Nike to get the coloring right. It always felt like, you know, maybe they didn't really want it.
Yeah.
But 2 times at least this season, maybe 3. We will see. And I think you're right. Like, the fans just driving around the city today. We went to the zoo this morning. Everybody's in Kelly Green.
Yeah.
I think, like, the stadium is going to be lubed up and ready to go for this game.
Yeah, I mean, Jeffrey Lurie may have theoretically not liked it before, because I know him and Christina really wanted to change the brand and the image and all that when they took over. If they check their merchandising checks that they're getting from the league, I'm pretty sure they'll fall in love with the Kelly Green.
I also feel like once they won the Super Bowl, you don't have to be quite so possessive.
Sure.
Right? It's you sort of loosen up a little bit.
I don't dislike the current Eagle logo. I except when people don't properly angle it. Like, some people turn it to the side,
or they face it the wrong way. Which
and I'm like,
sometimes.
Are you an Eagles fan? Like, what are you looking at? But the Eagle with the wings wide and the talon on the football is absolutely one of the best logos in football. I'm wearing it right here.
Rocking it right there.
It's one of the best, and it's cool to see it back. I'm pretty pumped up for the Kelly Greens tonight.
And I think, as people have said, like, those Dolphins jerseys tonight are pretty sweet too.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
It's a good visual matchup.
Yeah,
tonight.
It is. And you know, there's a lot of star power on this field tonight. I saw Deshaun out there pregame with Ocho Cinco taking some pictures with the wide receiver group, and, you know, Julio is now an Eagle. We'll get into all that with Zach, I'm sure, in a second. But there's some star power on that field tonight, and there's no doubt why it's the Sunday Night Football game.
No doubt about that. And there is an interesting Deshaun Jackson back and forth that may be on the All PHLY website this week. But before we get to that, the inactives for this game, let's start with that. There is some news both for the Eagles and the Dolphins. For the Eagles, Reed Blankenship is not playing in this game. He was already declared out. So we're expecting Sidney Brown and Terrell Edmonds to be your starting safeties. Sidney Brown making his first start as a safety, And Terrell Edmonds, who has been, I would say, up and down to be kind in his appearances this season, that's a bit of a tough matchup for the Eagles in the open field if Tyreek Hill or Jaylen Waddle has the ball in their hands. Also down for the Eagles, Rashad Penny, no surprise there. Moro Ojimo, Albert Okwuegbunam, Tanner McKee is the third quarterback. And then the other two things worth noting, Bradley Roby out for this game. We think that means Josiah Scott is going to be the starting nickel in his first game of the season. Zach will tell us if he thinks that's going to be the case as well. And then another bit of a surprise, Patrick Johnson, the special teamer and linebacker. He is inactive for the first time this season. He's second on the team in special team snaps, a bit of an odd one there. And then for the Dolphins, the big news is that Xavier Howard, their top corner without Jalen Ramsey, is down for this game. So they're going to be without both of their two best corners against A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. That was the same case last week for the Eagles against the Jets, and it didn't necessarily work out in their favor. But we'll see if that is a big factor tonight. Dolphins also without their starting center, Connor Williams. So as we'll talk about, the defensive line needs to get home quickly in this game. That could be a possibility for them.
Ooh, good luck, because Tua gets rid of the ball very, very quickly. Judging, with Xavier Howard being out, Devontae Smith theoretically could have a game, because I would assume Jalen Ramsey is for the most part going to cover.
Well,
AJ
Ramsey's
Brown
out as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they've got it's like Cater
geez.
Kahoo and Eli Apple.
So this is it. Oh, Eli Apple. All right,
Yeah.
Time to feast. So this is, a repeat of last week where both starting cornerbacks were out.
Right, almost seems too good to be true.
Yeah, and are they going to force feed the passing game if it's not there? We'll see.
And my position is that is not the best route in this game. I think they're going to be able to really run on the Dolphins on defense, and so we'll see if that is the case. This matchup is so interesting to me, and I'm looking forward to talking to Zach about it in a second. Do we have Zach, Tyler? Not yet. Okay. The Eagles defense against the Dolphins offense in this game. What is your nervous level? Because I feel like I've focused too much on this side of the matchup this week, but I just don't see how, given all of the Eagles' turnover roster-wise on defense, how they're going to be able to handle this Dolphins offense.
Yeah, Sean Desai is certainly going to be under kind of a microscope this game, because obviously Tyreek Hill poses a threat to every single team every single weekend. And how do you go about defending a guy that fast? I mean, he's so quick. I think the keys to the game, and we'll talk to Zach about this, is I think one of the keys is Tua gets rid of the ball in 2.1 seconds.
Faster than any quarterback in the league by a long shot.
A blink of an eye. So I almost think you have to, one, not blitz a lot, and two, almost not play for the sack and play for the disruption. I think the defensive tackles are going to be paramount to the success of the team tonight. You almost have to disrupt more than you obviously want to sack him, but you almost want to disrupt him more than you want to sack him because of how quickly he gets rid of the ball.
And if Sean Desai is going to be able to do that, he's going to have to do it with a totally mishmash secondary and linebacker unit. The 7th different secondary in 7 games for the Eagles.
Jeez.
Zach, we have you now from Lincoln Financial Field. You had a chance to watch warm-ups. What are we going to see in the secondary for the Eagles tonight?
You will see Sidney Brown and Terrell Edmonds at safety, and you'll see Josiah Scott in the slot. Based on pregame warm-ups, that's the lineup.
What do you make of that?
Well, I mean, who else is it going to be, frankly, right? They're in a situation here where both their starting safeties are injured. Their two options at slot corner are injured. Josiah Scott was on the Steelers practice squad at this time last week, and now he is in the slot in a potential matchup against Tyreek Hill or Jaylen Waddle, depending on how the Dolphins move their wide receivers. So it's the nature of the situation. Eagles talk about next man up, but this is when it hits a certain position, as it's hit safety and slot corner, you really have to scratch the depth chart. I would say at safety in particular, the Eagles made a heavy investment in Sidney Brown. They believe in Sidney Brown. They've been reluctant to put Sidney Brown in the starting lineup. This is Sidney Brown's opportunity to show why there's so much confidence and optimism in him in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to sort of contextualize this, right? Because Sidney Brown is making his first start at safety and was not, forcing his way into the lineup sooner than this. He's also coming off of an injury that kept him out of 2 games. He plays a style that is very make a decision and go 100 miles an hour. and that could lead to a mistake in the open field, which would lead to a big play for the Dolphins. Terrell Edmonds has been both sort of slow and able to make missed assignments throughout his playing time early on. Josiah Scott over the summer was overtaken by Mario Goodrich, who was released by the team this week. It is not like the Eagles have a lot to rely on here, and that's why I think if the Eagles are going to do enough on defense in this game, boy, is it going to say a lot about Sean Desai.
You're correct. And it will also say a lot about the Eagles' defensive front because that's what they're relying on. They're relying on the edge rushers, Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat, two of the top in the league. They're relying on Jalen Carter, who's played as well as any interior defensive lineman in the NFL this year. So I heard you guys talk about before I came on, putting pressure on Tua. He gets rid of the ball so quickly, but making him think a bit, that's going to be a challenge. But as far as the secondary goes, I think the reason why they brought Josiah Scott in here is because they wanted someone who's been in, I don't want to say big games, but Josiah Scott's been in high leverage games. He was on the field last year in Dallas, right, in a critical game for the Eagles. He played meaningful football late in the season. He had the interception against New Orleans. So I think the reason why they made that transaction is because even though Josiah Scott was beat out by Mario Goodrich this year, that happened. We were there during training camp. I think they valued the experience, which was why they made this move.
Yeah, Cousin Grace in the chat, Zach is saying, bring back Cravion LeBlanc. But I wanted to touch on what you heard us talking about when you came in. Tua gets rid of the ball the quickest rate in the league, 2.1 seconds average snap to throw. What is the sense you got this week from maybe Sean Desai or some defensive players about that and how they're going to counter that? It almost seems to me like the linebackers are going to play a huge role tonight.
Well, I think there's two things that you look at. First off, you have two experienced corners on the outside who, even though they're not as fast as Jaylen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, they're experienced guys who are physical. And what you try to do is you try to disrupt the receivers at the line, and that gives you a split-second advantage, if you will. And then the other thing that you do, and this is incumbent upon Sean Desai, is you you disguise your defense. You make Tua see something at the snap, and then something different once he's looking out there, and that's kind of a staple of this style of defense. The Dolphins will do the same thing on the other side of the ball with Vic Fangio. So I think if you're talking about Tua holding the ball a little longer, it's rerouting the receivers, and it's making him not see a clean picture when he drops back.
Zach, is it Nakobe Dean full-time in warm-ups? What's your expectation there? Him, Zach Cunningham?
Yeah, so when I was watching, it was Nakobe Dean and Zach Cunningham with the top defense. So that's what I'm expecting, but they had that rotation last week. And in the time I was watching, it was not Nicholas Morrow rotating in, but we'll see. I mean, speed's going to be paramount today.
Set the scene for us a little bit, Zach. What's the press box like? Have they done anything big for the Kelly Green? How's the atmosphere down there? Give us the picture.
Yeah, it's Kelly Green everywhere. Everywhere you turn, in the parking lot, in the stands, on the field, and even to the end zones. And you guys will see it tonight. It's the old Eagle script from the 90s. At midfield, it is the Eagle from the 90s, right? This is like being in a time warp here. It's the one on Jamie's sweatshirt. Yeah, I mean, I've been here for every single game during the past 12 years, and this is foreign for me to see that script in the end zone and to see that logo at midfield. So you definitely get the sense that this is something different tonight, and there's a certain buzz and excitement about the Kelly Green, the wraps around the the end zone walls, if you will. It's Kelly Green. It's the font that they are using as kind of like a throwback font. So it doesn't look like a traditional Eagles game. It looks like a special event. And there's a lot of, I don't want to say celebrities, but there's notable people on the sideline. I mean, I spoke to Deshaun Jackson before the game. Deshaun Jackson and Chad Johnson are here with EA Sports. Michael Rubin was down on the sideline, hobnobbing with Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie and Deshaun Jackson. So you got a lot of people out here tonight. It's like a who's who. I mean, if only they saw Bo Wulf on the sideline, right?
Well, at least I would have delivered my things on time.
I'm staying out of that one.
Zach, one of the other who's who on the sidelines tonight is actually going to be in uniform for the Eagles. It's Julio Jones. What do you expect his role to be? What's kind of a snap count looking like? Are we looking in that kind of 15 to 20 range? Any idea or sense of how they expect to use him? Is he more red zone oriented, or is he going to be straight up the team's number 3 wide receiver tonight, kind of in that slot role?
I don't expect him to be the number 3 wide receiver. I still think that's Olamide Zaccheaus for the majority of the snaps, but I do think you're going to see Julio in specific situations. And kind of, you mentioned the 15 to 20 snaps. I think that's what you can probably expect from him. I think there are certain packages and certain kind of routes that they're going to want him in. You mentioned the red zone. That's where I would use him. I know his red zone numbers haven't been as prolific as his overall numbers during his career, but when you see Julio Jones, I'm expecting his size to be something that they use in the red zone.
On that side of the ball, Zach, do you think that this is a game where the Eagles are going to try to lean on DeAndre Swift and control, the number of possessions in this game and as a way of limiting the Dolphins' offense, or do you sort of think they're going to go? The Dolphins have 2 backup corners out there. We've got AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. We're going to throw the ball. What's your expectation?
It's a great question because I thought Xavier Howard would be active tonight, and he is not active. And so without Xavier Howard, you're looking at a situation comparable to last week against the Jets, where the opponent is missing their top 2 cornerbacks. And when that happens, there are opportunities. Obviously, the Eagles always like their matchups on the outside with AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, but it's even more pronounced when you're facing 2 backup corners. So I am expecting them to pass it quite a bit, but I can see this being a big Swift night in terms of volume, both running and in getting the ball in his hands in space. I can see the argument for trying to kind of out physical them, and when you out physical them, you're talking about winning at the line of scrimmage with this offensive line. You're talking about running the ball, similar to what you saw in that Minnesota game in week 2 when we were here for prime time. So, I can. I know I'm playing on both sides here. I can certainly see the argument for running with DeAndre Swift, but knowing the way the Eagles think and seeing how these opposing corners are, I would expect them to test these corners, to trust AJ Brown, to trust Devontae Smith in these matchups. And when you're facing 2 backups, you can't say run the ball, unless you're struggling to pass it. And that's where protection must hold up. We need to see Lane Johnson, how that ankle looks. But I am expecting them to pass it just because it's what they like to do and because they're facing backup corners.
Zach, just walk us through the guys coming off of the injured list. Lane Johnson, I saw walking around, didn't even look like he had a limp. Jalen Carter, Darius Slay, all the big names kind of returning to action this week. How's everybody feeling? Anybody playing at, obviously not 100%, but playing really hurt, or are they all pretty much up to speed?
Well, Lane is certainly dealing with something now. It's not as serious as the ankle injuries he's had in the past, but he wouldn't have practiced on Wednesday. He would have been limited on Thursday. So it's not as if he's dealing with a healthy ankle here, but as everyone tells you, Lane Johnson's a tough dude, and he's played through injuries and he's playing through this one. Darius Slay's been dealing with this with his knee. I think he's good enough to play, but I don't think it's totally out of the system, if you will. Jalen Carter playing through the injury. I think he's okay though. And then Sidney Brown. Sidney Brown's had ample time here, but his is going to be quite important. And the other one I'll point out is Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith had a hamstring injury, would have been absent from practice on Wednesday. I spoke to him on Thursday. Devontae didn't want to make excuses, but it was affecting him in that game last week. And he said as he played, it kind of warms up. But pay attention to that, because hamstring injuries with wide receivers aren't something to dismiss. But I think everyone who's out there for the most part is healthy enough to be out there. And I would say Lane and Devontae are the two I'm paying most close attention to.
Last one for you, Zach. A question for the sickos who are watching this kickoff show, because this is only for them. But Eagles, a big advantage on special teams tonight. They're third in DVOA right now, and the Dolphins are 30th. But no Patrick Johnson. What's up with that?
Yeah, I was curious about that, and it's just kind of a numbers game. I guess when you're looking at the fact that what's that?
It's
When
a
you're
reference for 4 people.
Gotcha. When you're looking at them, obviously Julio Jones is up tonight. They're you have Mekhi Garner up tonight, but they don't really have a lot of guys missing because of injuries, right? So he's kind of caught up in that numbers game at edge rusher when he's I know he has versatility with linebacker. I know he helps at special teams, but I think that's just a number in terms of the amount of edge rushers they want up, and clearly that they want to have more D tackles up, right? So that seems to be the way they're trending. But I was surprised to see it because Patrick Johnson's kind of been a core guy for them on special teams.
He's second most snaps on the team to Christian Ellis, and I guess they need to have all 12 corners active. So, Zach, thank you so much. We will talk to you after the game. Enjoy getting to be there and watch it in person.
Absolutely. Look forward to talking to you guys after the game. Thank you.
See you, Zach.
All right. Thank you, Zach. Interesting stuff. What are your expectations for Julio? Are you excited about Julio Jones, the Philadelphia Eagle?
It was one of those situations like, why not? There was nothing to lose, only money, and it's not my money, so I don't give a damn. They needed depth there. Like, Britton Covey saw the field last week as a wide receiver. That can't happen.
It's not ideal.
So, no, it's not ideal. With Quez going to the IR, you kind of needed somebody. I think my expectations are completely realistic, which is not much. Maybe a big red zone target here and there. Julio's a guy that's probably not going to practice all the remainder of this year. Like, he'll probably never practice, and he's just going to be like, I'm Hall of Famer Julio Jones. Just activate me on Sundays, and I'm good to go.
Sure.
I don't expect much, but it's a very low bar to exceed.
Yeah, I think the expectations have to be, pretty in check. But, if he can stay healthy for 8 games,
that'd be great.
Just be on the field to a point where Jalen Hurts is willing to throw him the ball, because that's the point I've made this week, is that Zacchaeus and Quez Watkins and even Jack Stoll, as the 4th eligible guy out in routes, or the 5th if you count the running back, they are targeted at such a low rate. It almost allows the defense to not worry about them too much. And so if he can just change the shape of the offense a little bit when he's healthy, I think that will matter.
Yeah, sure. And they worked out a couple wide receivers apparently, and thought he looked the best of the bunch. So, Howie and the front office and their scouting department have my trust. So, if they thought he was the best available out there on the street in mid-October, then I trust them. And mild excitement, I guess, is how I would classify it.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
All right. Jamie, you are best bets, obviously, started.
Ooh, hit a cold streak last week.
So well. You were just raking in the cash.
Yeah.
Like the Eagles, last week was a down week, but let's get to what you've got for tonight.
Just a bit. I am not usually a DraftKings boost guy, but they have a boost out there for tonight's game that caught my eye a little bit. The reason I'm not is they always seem too good to be true, and a lot of times they are. But this one, I just don't know how this misses. I'm going to take the DraftKings boost tonight of A.J. Brown and Tyreek Hill combined for 150-plus receiving yards between them.
Oh, okay.
It's boosted to plus 100. Which isn't great.
Feels like that should definitely hit.
But it seems like
one
something,
of those ones where it seems too good to be true. Yeah,
it does seem too good to be true. I mean, AJ's coming off of 4 straight 120-plus yard games, and Tyreek Hill is one of the scariest receivers in the league. We'll talk about post-game how this seemed to go under, and it won't make sense even then. But I'm going to go with that one first.
I like that.
And then tonight, I'm going to take something I don't normally do, which is the Jalen Hurts over passing touchdowns. I'm going to take the over 1.5 passing touchdowns, which is not normally something I look at with Jalen Hurts. But I was just kind of listening to the universe in my gut when I saw it. It kind of clicked and made sense to me. I don't really have much explanation outside of that.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like this is a game when they need touchdowns. Not, I mean, what a silly, reductive thing to say, but like in
Passing
a game where you're
touchdowns.
expecting the Dolphins to be scoring, like they need to score in the
Sure.
red zone. Whatever like special plays they've got cooked up that they've been maybe trying to save, this would be a good time to burn those. And so, yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah. And what do you got for us tonight,
My
Bo?
two are I'm going Tua over 300 passing yards plus 145.
That's pretty good odds on.
I like the payout there, and the Eagles have been so good against the run. Now the Dolphins have been a very good running team this season, but they've done a lot of that work to the edge. I think the Eagles are well suited to handle that, and I just think that the Dolphins have so many advantages in the passing game over the middle of the field. I think the Dolphins will be willing to throw the ball a little bit more in this game, and I think it'll be a back and forth game in which they need to pass. And then the other one is this is my like. What is this line even doing here?
Yeah,
and
I know.
like,
how deep did you have to
it
go?
would be the only person
to find this.
betting this, but if they've got a lineup for Josh Jobe tackles at 2.5, and my expectation is he's not going to play on defense unless somebody gets hurt, I'll be the sucker who's taking the sucker bet here. Josh Jobe under 2.5 tackles. Now he plays on special teams. He could get some special teams tackles.
Oh yeah.
But plus 110. I mean, I don't know.
I didn't even know that was a bet you could make. So congrats on finding
that. So the
that.
mortgage is on Josh Jobe under 2.5 tackles. There we go.
Yeah, I mean, I think I like it.
I don't know. Maybe they know something I don't know. I don't know. Like they're going to play Bradbury in the slot and Jobe on the outside again. Yeah, that's possible.
Jobe's going to come out as a tackling machine tonight with like 12 tackles or something.
Starting middle linebacker Josh Jobe. Now listen, we love the feedback in the chat and make sure that you're subscribing, all that good stuff. I agree. This is not a very good shirt, but I was trying to wear something Kelly Greenish. This was the only thing I had in the closet. I don't think I've worn this shirt in like 5 years, maybe. I agree. It's not great. This will probably be the last time. But I thought let's be thematic. And all of a sudden I'm getting called out. So that's fair.
Well,
oh well.
I forgot my Kelly Green jersey, so we each had our shortcomings tonight.
Not bad. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, Jamie. Let's get to predictions because we're zeroing in on game time here. Any other major thoughts you have to get off your chest?
No, I think it's a big Sean Desai game. Obviously, Jalen Hurts. It would be nice to see 4 quarters strung together.
I really feel like if the Eagles win this game, we're gonna come on, and I don't want to write the narrative before it happens, but I think we're going to be talking a lot about Sean Desai.
I completely agree.
It's exactly like what you said. They need to do a lot of different stuff before the snap and right after the snap to confuse and muddy the picture for Tua. So he has to hold on to the ball for another half second. And that's going to be a really impressive thing for him to pull off with all the moving parts they have on defense tonight. And if they're able to do that, I think what a job that will be.
Yeah, and the weather I think is an interesting element in this. This isn't Miami anymore. The opposition's not roasting in the Miami sunshine.
Sure.
So I do think the Dolphins have a big home field advantage there with the way the shade and the sun plays at Hard Rock Stadium.
Sure.
The wind was whipping.
This is the Ace Ventura matchup.
It is the big Ace Ventura Bowl. Yeah. The wind was whipping earlier. When the sun was going down, I could sense it starting to get a little cold. So, this isn't Tampa Bay Bucks coming into the vet type of situation. But I do think it's a factor in the game a little bit, especially if that wind's whipping down there in South Philly. So, it's going to be a good game, I think. I don't think either team's going to get blown out. I think there's only one option there, and that would be the Dolphins blowing out the Eagles. I don't think that's going to happen. I do think this is going to be a little bit of a slugfest. And I think you're going to get a good Eagles performance. And my prediction, I don't have all the confidence in the world in, but I'm actually taking the Eagles to win.
Good for you.
I thought all week I was going to be picking the Dolphins. I don't know. Something here. I don't know if it's the Kelly Green drunk goggles I'm wearing. It's just Miami. I think, the 70 points they put up, they're human at times. They're not this world beater that goes around, just killing everybody. So I think you have a chance in that stadium in this weather with all the guys coming back tonight. I think Darius Slay, Jalen Carter, and Lane Johnson are huge factors from what we saw last week. So I have the Eagles winning 31-27 in a close game. If they can hold the Dolphins to 27 points,
it'd be huge.
You got to win that game.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So anything under 30, you got to win.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have been going back and forth here. Now, I am certainly not opposed to flip-flopping my pick. On Friday, I took the Dolphins. This is the official pick of record, so that's what matters. I'm smart enough to know that I'm dumb.
Yeah.
And so
Same.
like all I've been thinking is that the Dolphins are going to win this game because I just don't see how the Eagles defense, it seems like this Dolphins team is specifically designed to take advantage of where the Eagles are weak and to negate where the Eagles are so strong because they get rid of the ball so quickly, right? It's possible that Jalen Carter will just destroy this game because the Dolphins have a backup center who's not very good. On offense, I think I have not been giving enough credence to the possibility that the Eagles can just run over this Dolphins defense, which is not very good, and they can throw all over them. And maybe there's some extra juice in the building tonight.
Oh, no. Are we going 2-0?
But I can't do it. I can't do it. I acknowledge that I'm probably wrong. Like, the Eagles are still favored by 3 points tonight. That line seems wild to me. I think we're going to learn a little bit more about the Dolphins tonight than we are about the Eagles. Because the Dolphins have had this schedule against really bad defenses. They had the one loss against the Bills. All their other matchups have been pretty advantageous. We'll find out if they're for real tonight. And I sort of think they are, as long as Tua is healthy. And so
they've beat up on some bad teams, though.
They have, no doubt. I don't think it's like we could be in the first quarter. The Eagles are up 14-0, and I'm like, what was I thinking? AJ Brown and Devontae Smith are having a great game, and Jalen Carter is making a huge impact on Sunday Night Football. But right now, I'm sticking with my original pick, and so I'm taking the Dolphins. Let's say 34-26.
All right, and so we're in the same ballpark and score-wise.
Yeah,
and I think it is going to be that. One of the things that kind of makes me feel good, and this shouldn't because it was 2 years ago now at this point, but when Tyreek Hill came in with the Kansas City Chiefs, I remember going like, how are they ever going to stop this guy? What are they going to do? And Darius Slay, sucks he's coming off an injury, had a really good game against him, and they held him in check. So hoping they can do it again.
But also the Chiefs scored on like every possession they had.
Yeah, well, they didn't punt at all, but Patrick Mahomes isn't playing in this game. So,
Jonathan Gannon is also not calling this game.
That's a good point, yeah.
So we will see what happens. All right. That'll do it for the PHLY Eagles pregame show. We will be back with the postgame right after the game. We'll talk to Zach then as well. Enjoy the evening. Enjoy the visual feast of the Kelly Green against those Dolphins uniforms. And hopefully it goes your way. We'll talk to you later. And for Tyler and Zach and Jamie, I'm Bo. We thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And as always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.